An aggressive sheep owner takes the time and the trouble to ready them for the arrival of his flocks. Early in the season, even before all the snow has been melted by the spring sunshine, he will go ahead and make the preliminary survey trips into this rough, wild country. He'll look it over with great care, keeping ever in mind its best use for his flock during the coming season. Then, just before the sheep arrive, he'll make another expedition or two to prepare the tableland for them. He takes along a supply of salt and minerals to be distributed over the range at strategic spots for the benefit of the sheep during the summer. The intelligent, careful manager will also decide well ahead of time where his camps will be located so the sheep will have the best bedding grounds. He goes over the range carefully to determine how vigorous the grass and upland vegetation is. At this time, he also decides whether some glades and basins can be used only lightly, whereas other slopes and meadows may be grazed more heavily. He will check to see if there are poisonous weeds appearing, and if so, he will plan his grazing program to avoid them or take drastic steps to eradicate them. Now, he talks about his own life, and he says, unknown to me, the first sheep ranch I owned had a rather prolific native strand of both blue and white camas. I have no idea what that is. The blue camas were a delightful sight in the spring when they bloomed along the beaches. The white camas, though a much less conspicuous flower, were also quite attractive, but a deadly menace to sheep. If lambs in particular ate or even just nibbled a few of the lily-like leaves as they emerged in the grass during the spring, it would spell certain death. The lambs would become paralyzed, stiffen up like blocks of wood, and simply succumb to the toxic poison from the plants. My youngsters and I spent days and days going over the ground plucking out these poisonous plants. It was a reoccurring task that was done every spring before the sheep went on to these pastures. And though tedious and tiring with all of the bending, it was a case of preparing the table in the presence of my enemies. And if my sheep were to survive, it simply had to be done. Amen? Amen. Yeah. And I get this picture from my shepherd. I get this picture that everywhere I'm going to go, he's been. Everything I'm going to experience, he already has tested it and measured it. He knows it won't destroy me. Amen? Isn't that comforting? Yeah. So when David says he's prepared a table before me in the presence of my enemies, that's why he can say, I'm not worried. I fear no evil. I'm going to be fine. And whatever we're going through right now, raise your hand if you're going through a struggle right now. You're going through a rough season, right? Whatever you're going, she can't even get her hands up. I got stuff in her hands. Whatever you're going through right now, guess who knows? The Good Shepherd. He's already prepared that season of your life that you're going through with your family, that season of my life that I was going through when I didn't know that I was loved. He was lining me up so that I would end up in a place where I would learn that nobody loves me like him. And it was life-changing on that day. On that very day, when I looked in that mirror and I still thought I was kind of a good person. Remember we went through that syndrome? We got good kid syndrome. Some of y'all got good kids. I'm a good kid. No, you're a good kid compared to the bad kid down the street. I was a good person compared to the horrible people I had met. But when I looked at Jesus and when I looked at the shepherd of my soul, all of a sudden I realized with shame, I just had to put my head down and say, I'm no good. And finally, I'm in a place where I can receive his love. Finally, I was in a place where I could receive the promise of his salvation because I no longer was dependent on my own goodness. I had met the good shepherd. Amen.